Unconditional love. It sounds amazing when you don't understand what it means, and trust me, you don't. In fact, you probably can't handle the truth. Once you know what unconditional love is, you realize why you don't allow it for yourself and why you withhold it from others. In fact, most people in this world do not even want true unconditional love, which is exactly why it is not part of their experience. However, unconditional love is the way of the universe, and it is required for this world to evolve, so let's talk about it a bit. When you understand it, you become aware of why you reject it, and that is the key to learning how to desire, accept, and offer it. And that is how the world can be made new. You parents all believe you love your children unconditionally, but you have no idea what it really means. You think it means you will love your children no matter what they do. That is a persistent or persevering love, but it is not unconditional. Likewise, it doesn't matter how much you think you love your partner, it is not unconditional simply because you don't understand what that means. Throughout your life, how many people have you thought you couldn't live without? Yet here you are, living without them. Because your love had conditions. The closest examples of unconditional love on this planet are dogs. Cat lovers know very well they have conditions, and they want you to know exactly what they are. Ultimately, even a dog has conditions, but they will endure a lot before making them known. Here's the bottom line. As humans, you cannot understand unconditional love because you have an ego, which means you have preferences. While preferences might have the best of intentions and be fully from the heart, they represent limitations or conditions. If you love someone, you want to steer them to your perception of what is best for them. You can still love them if they don't adhere to your preferences, but the very fact that you have preferences means you are not fully unconditional. Preferences do not necessarily mean dependencies. You can support someone in their own choices and experiences. However, hoping they prefer something that aligns with your idea of what is best for them is not unconditional. You would not stand by, fully supporting a decision that you believe would be harmful to a person you love. You would not passively observe a toddler putting a knife into an electrical outlet. You obviously would intervene and steer the child toward your preferred outcome. This certainly represents an act of love, but is clearly not unconditional. Unconditional love is unconditionally supportive, without exception and without objection. It does not express preferences. It fully understands that everything is a growth opportunity, and it unconditionally respects another's path, even if it leads to an undesired result. In other words, unconditional love selflessly supports, which is completely passive. You cannot fathom, much less offer, unconditional support without expanded awareness. Without knowing what life itself truly is or what you truly are, you are guided by your beliefs, which are conditional. Humans are so limited in their ability to comprehend unconditional love that you decided God must not be capable of it either. So religion gave you what you wanted, an idea of a conditional, judgmental God who intervenes according to its preferences. Why would anyone reject unconditional support? Because true unconditional love expresses a lot like complete indifference, which is very difficult for beings with egos to understand. When you are hurting, you want to feel like someone cares. You want someone to be vested in you, pushing or pulling you one way or the other. You don't even care which way because subconsciously you don't truly want despair to end. You savor the attention it brings and use the situation as a proving ground. You want to know if someone will stand with you as you suffer. You want to validate their love for you. If they sit idly by, passively observing your misery without engaging, it feels like they don't care at all. In truth, passively observing while someone you love is doing something that results in their own misery is the exact form of unconditional love that is God. God fully supports your decisions without regard for the consequences of those choices. If you choose it, God allows it without intervention. That is the definition of unconditional. You are allowed to learn and grow from every choice you make without interference. You want God to make it better. Sometimes you even want God to apologize. Eventually, you submit and just want God to prove it is there. Even then, as you struggle in despair, perceiving nothing but silent separation, God supports you so unconditionally that you are allowed to believe you aren't loved. God is so unconditional that you are allowed to believe you are not supported. Regardless of your ideas about God, the very fact that you exist is evidence that some creational force exists. So give it whatever name you choose. It doesn't have an ego. An ego would rush in and steer you toward a preferred outcome, but that doesn't happen. In your darkest moments, you receive only unconditional love and unconditional support, although you recognize it as separation and isolation. You perceive indifference because you are not being rescued from your situation. You are fully supported in the choices you make while in the situation, but you don't acknowledge this. These feelings of separation are a result of the beliefs you have adopted. If you have been taught about a conditional God, your idea of God has an ego and preferred outcomes. You expect this God to intervene in support of its preferences. The very fact that God doesn't respond the way you think it should is evidence you are so unconditionally supported that you are even allowed to choose to feel like you aren't. Again, your beliefs come into play. Beliefs are always a choice. Some may reside in the subconscious, but they always originate as a logical, intellectual decision made in the physical mind at some point, and they are always coupled with hope because they cannot be validated. There is no such thing as a validated belief because validation results in knowing and acceptance. If you have been taught that God will intervene according to His will, then you are left to believe God just didn't want to, for whatever reason. You are left to question your worthiness and believe that God prefers your suffering in a given situation. If you knew the truth about God's unconditional nature as well as your own, you would understand that the perceived absence is only an idea and you are being fully supported in the experiencing of it. You perceive things such as murder, war, suicide, abuse, etc. as evidence of evil, but in truth they are evidence of God's unconditional love and support. Those are all choices made in denial of God, and yet God allows it, never interfering. Evil is nothing more than a perceived absence of God's presence. It is an idea that denies God's eternal connection to all of creation. Those acts are choices made through a failure to recognize that God is present in every person and circumstance. It is a belief of separation that has never been, nor can ever be true. Light cannot be consumed by darkness. The only way to create darkness is to remove the light. There is no power in the universe capable of separating God from creation. That is a very arrogant, albeit naive and untrue belief of humans. Humans are so limited in their ability to comprehend anything outside of their own experience, yet so confident in their ignorance that they decided God must be limited by the constraints of their imagination. They had to create a devil to blame the bad stuff on. Can you imagine being so unconditionally loving and supportive that you would respect a loved one's free will to a point you would passively observe while they chose to give up, or blame you, or hurt another loved one, or fail to even recognize your presence? You cannot imagine God's unconditional nature because you have egos. Egos love the word should. You think everything should align with your preferences, and you perceive an absence of God in the things you don't prefer because God shouldn't tolerate them either. When you acknowledge that God is all that is, that everything is an aspect of God and there can be no separation ever, then you can replace your conditional, untrue beliefs and reprogram your ego. With new default programming, you recognize God in everything, including yourself. You realize that everything you experience is an opportunity for growth and that you are always unconditionally supported. You can then begin to love yourself unconditionally, which opens you to both allowing it for yourself and offering it to others. At that point, you no longer equate unconditional love to indifference, and life begins to unfold for you rather than to you. It is always a choice, and you are always supported in the decisions you make, receiving the opportunities to learn from them over and over and over for lifetimes if necessary.